Reading through the Bible in 1 year, June 12th, Deuteronomy 12, Psalm 104, Isaiah 44, and Revelation 14. Moses continues, "Do not sacrifice to the Lord your God an ox or a sheep with a defect or any serious flaw, for that is detestable to the Lord your God. If a man or woman among you in any one of your towns that the Lord your God will give you is discovered doing evil in the sight of the Lord your God and violating his covenant, or has gone to serve other gods by bowing in worship to the sun, moon, or the stars of the sky, which I have forbidden, and if you are told or hear about it, then investigate it thoroughly. If the report turns out to be true that this detestable act has been done in Israel, then you are to bring out to your city gates that man or woman who has done this evil thing and stone them to death. The one condemned to die is to be executed on the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses, and no one is to be executed on the testimony of a single witness. The witness's hands are to be the first in putting him to death, and after that, the hands of all the people. You must purge the evil from among you. If the case is too difficult for you concerning bloodshed, lawsuits, or assaults, cases disputed at your city gates, then go up to the place the Lord your God chooses. You are to ask the Levitical priests and the judge who presides at that time. Ask, and they will give you a verdict in the case. You must abide in the verdict that they give you at the place the Lord chooses. Be careful to do exactly as they instruct you. You must abide in the instruction they give you and the verdict they announce to you. Do not turn to the right or to the left from the decision that they declare to you. The person who acts arrogantly, refusing to listen either to the priest who stands there serving the Lord your God, or to the judge, must die. You must purge the evil from Israel. Then all the people will hear about it, be afraid, and no longer behave arrogantly. When you enter the land that the Lord your God is giving you, take possession of it, live in it, and say, I will set a king over me, like the nations around me. Note he's saying when they do this, not if they do this. You are to appoint over you the king that the Lord your God chooses. Appoint a king from your brothers. You are not to set a foreigner over you, or one who is not of your people. However, he must not acquire many horses for himself, or send the people back to Egypt to acquire many horses. For the Lord has told you, you are never to go back that way again. He must not acquire many wives for himself, so that his heart won't go astray. Solomon. He must not acquire very large amounts of silver and gold for himself. Now, God gave him all the silver and gold that he wanted, and more so. So that's really God giving it to him as a gift, but it's basically saying that he shouldn't become a greedy king. When he is seated on his royal throne, he is to write a copy of the instruction for himself on a scroll in the presence of the Levitical priests. So he's supposed to write a copy of the book of Deuteronomy, the law. It is to remain with him, and he is to read from it all the days of his life, so that he may learn to fear the Lord his God, and to observe all the words of this instruction, and to do these statutes. Then his heart will not be exalted above his countrymen. He will not turn from this command to the right or to the left, and he and his sons will continue reigning many years in Israel. Let's move on to Psalm 104. My soul, bless the Lord. Lord my God, you are very great. You are clothed with majesty and splendor. He wraps himself in light as if it were a robe, spreading out the sky like a canopy, laying the beams of his palace on the waters above, making the clouds his chariot, walking on the wings of the wind, and making the winds his messengers, flames of fire his servants. He established the earth on its foundations. It will never be shaken. You covered it with the deep as if it were a garment. The waters stood above the mountains. At your rebuke, the waters fled. At the sound of your thunder, they hurried away. Mountains rose and valleys sank to the place that you have established for them. You set a boundary they cannot cross. They will never cover the earth again. He causes the springs to gush into the valleys. They flow between the mountains. They supply water for every wild beast. The wild donkeys quench their thirst. The birds of the sky live beside the springs. They make their voices heard among the foliage. He waters the mountains from his palace. The earth is satisfied by the fruit of your labor. He causes the grass to grow for the livestock and provides crops for man to cultivate, producing food from the earth. Wine that makes that makes human hearts glad, making his face shine with oil, and bread that sustains human hearts. The trees of the Lord flourish, the cedars of Lebanon that he planted. There the birds make their nests. The storks make their homes in the pine trees. The high mountains are for the wild goats. The cliffs are a refuge for hyraxes. He made the moon to mark the festivals. The sun knows when to set. You bring darkness and it becomes night, when all the forest animals stir. The young lions roar for their prey. They seek their food from God. The sun rises and they go back and lie down in their dens. Man goes out to his work and to his labor until evening. How countless are your works, Lord! In wisdom you have made them all. The earth is full of your creatures. Here is the sea, vast and wide, teeming with creatures beyond number, living things both large and small. There the ships move about, and Leviathan, which you formed to play there. All of them wait for you to give them their food at the right time. When you give it to them, they gather it. When you open your hand, they are satisfied with good things. When you hide your face, they are terrified. And when you take away their breath, they die and return to the dust. When you send your breath, they are created, and you renew the surface of the ground. May the glory of the Lord endure forever. May the Lord rejoice in his works. He looks at the earth, and it trembles. He touches the mountains, and they pour out smoke. I will sing to the Lord all my life. I will sing praise to my God while I live. May my meditation be pleasing to him. I will rejoice in the Lord. May sinners vanish from the earth, and wicked people be no more. My soul, bless the Lord. Hallelujah. And that is all the notes. Let's go on to Isaiah 44. And now listen, Jacob, my servant, Israel, whom I have chosen. This is the word of the Lord, your maker, the one who formed you from the womb. He will help you. Do not fear, Jacob, my servant, Jeshurun, whom I have chosen. For I will pour water on the thirsty land and streams on the dry ground. I will pour out my spirit on your descendants and my blessing on your offspring. They will sprout among the grass like poplars by flowing streams. This one will say, I am Yahweh's. Another will use the name of Jacob. Still another will write on his hand, the Lord's, and take on the name of Israel. This is what the Lord, the King of Israel and its Redeemer, the Lord of armies, says. I am the first and the last. There is no God but me. Who, like me, can announce the future? Let him say so and make a case before me, since I have established an ancient people. Let these gods declare the coming things and what will take place. Do not be startled or afraid. Have I not told you and declared it long ago? You are my witnesses. Is there any God but me? There is no other rock. I don't know any. All who make idols are nothing, and what they treasure benefits no one. Their witnesses do not see or know anything, so they will be put to shame. Who makes a god or casts a metal image that benefits no one? Look, all its worshippers will be put to shame, and the craftsmen are humans. They all will assemble and stand. They all will be startled and put to shame. The iron worker labors over the coals, shapes the idol with hammers, and works it with a strong arm. And he grows hungry, and his strength fails, and he doesn't drink water and is faint. Again, this is the strength of the one making their gods that they worship. The woodworker stretches out a measuring line. He outlines it with a stylus, and he shapes it with chisels. He outlines it with a compass. He makes it according to a human form, like a beautiful person, to dwell in a temple. He cuts down cedars for his use, or he takes a cypress or an oak. He lets it grow strong among the trees of the forest, and he plants a laurel, and the rain that God provides makes it grow. A person can use it for fuel. He takes some of it and warms himself. He kindles a fire and bakes bread. He even makes it into a god and worships it. He makes an idol from it and bows down to it. He burns half of it in the fire, and he roasts meat on that half. He eats the roast and is satisfied, and he warms himself and says, "Ah, I am warm. I see the blaze." Then he makes a god or his idol with the rest of it, and he bows down to it and worships it. And he prays to it, saying, "Save me, for you are a god." Such people do not comprehend and cannot understand, for he has shut their eyes so that they cannot see, and their minds so that they cannot understand. No one comes to his senses. No one has the perception or insight to say, "I burned half of it in the fire. I also baked breads on its coals, and I roasted meat and ate. Should I make something detestable with the rest of it? Should I bow down to a block of wood?" He feeds on ashes. His deceived mind has led him astray, and he cannot rescue himself. Or say, "Isn't there a lie in my right hand?" Remember these things, Jacob, and Israel, for you are my servant. I formed you. You are my servant. Israel, you will never be forgotten by me. I swept away your transgressions like a cloud, and your sins like a mist. Return to me, for I have past tense already redeemed you. Rejoice, heavens, for the Lord has acted. Shout, depths of the earth. Break out into singing, mountains, forests, and every tree in it, for the Lord has redeemed Jacob and glorifies himself through Israel. This is what the Lord, your Redeemer, who formed you from the womb, says. I am the Lord who made everything, who stretched out the heavens by myself, who alone spread out the earth, who destroys the omens of the false prophets and makes fools of diviners, who confounds the wise and makes their knowledge foolishness, who confirms the message of his servant and fulfills the counsel of his messengers, who says to Jerusalem, she will be inhabited, and to the cities of Judah, they will be rebuilt, and I will restore her ruins, who says to the depth of the sea, be dry, and I will dry up your rivers, who says to Cyrus, here he is, telling the future again about a king who has yet to be born, my shepherd. Now again, he's a pagan king he's calling his shepherd, and that he will fulfill all my desire. And says to Jerusalem, she will be rebuilt, and of the temple, its foundation will be laid. All right, let's move on to Revelation chapter, I almost said 7:14. Numbers are just bad today. Then I looked, and there was the Lamb, standing on Mount Zion, and with him were 144,000 who had his name and his Father's name written on their foreheads. And I heard a sound from heaven, like the sound of cascading waters, like the rumbling of loud thunder. The sound I heard was like harpists playing on their harps. They sang a new song before the throne and before the four living creatures and the elders. but no one could learn the song except the 144,000 who had been redeemed from the earth. These are the ones who have not defiled themselves with women, since they remain virgins. These are the ones who follow the Lamb wherever he goes. They were redeemed from humanity as the firstfruits for God and the Lamb. No lie was found in their mouths. They are blameless. Then I saw another angel flying overhead, with the eternal gospel to announce to the inhabitants of the earth, to every nation, tribe, language, and people. He spoke with a loud voice, "Fear God and give him glory, because the hour of his judgment has come. Worship the one who made heaven and earth, the sea, and the springs of water." And a second angel followed, saying, "It has fallen. Babylon the Great has fallen. She made all the nations drink the wine of her sexual immorality, which brings wrath." And a third angel followed them and spoke with a loud voice, "If anyone worships the beast and its image and receives a mark on his forehead or in his hand, he will also drink the wine of God's wrath, which is poured full strength into the cup of his anger. He will be tormented with fire and sulfur in the sight of the holy angels and in the sight of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment will go up forever and ever. There is no rest, day or night, for those who worship the beast and its image, or anyone who receives the mark of his name. This calls for endurance from the saints who keep God's commands and their faith in Jesus. Then I heard a voice from heaven saying, "Write, blessed are the dead who die in the Lord from now on." "Yes," says the Spirit. "So they will rest from their labors, since their works follow them." Then I looked, and there was a white cloud, and the one, like the Son of Man, was seated on the cloud, with a golden crown on his head and a sharp sickle in his hand. Another angel came out of the temple, crying out in a loud voice to the one seated on the cloud, "Use your sickle and reap, for the time to reap has come, since the harvest of the earth is ripe." So the one seated on the cloud swung his sickle over the earth, and the earth was harvested. Then another angel, who also had a sharp sickle, came out of the temple in heaven. Yet another angel, who had authority over fire, came from the altar, and he called with a loud voice to the one who had the sharp sickle, "Use your sharp sickle and gather the clusters of grapes from the vineyard of the earth, because the grapes have ripened." So the angel swung his sickle. I want to make sure we get all the notes here. So the angel swung his sickle at the earth and gathered the grapes from the vineyard of the earth, and he threw them into the great winepress of God's wrath. Then the press was trampled outside the city, and blood flowed out of the press up to the horse's bridle for about 180 miles. And that is all of it for today. So, God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. Behold, the word of the Lord.